95% of happy hormone serotonin is stored in our gut. So you can imagine if a gut is inflamed, we are not going to be happy. Gut health has become so popular nowadays that whether you look at any discipline of nutrition, whether it's Ayurveda, holistic nutrition, they talk about gut health. Protein industry and the fitness industry is they think that vegetarians cannot get the protein, which is actually not right. Vegetarians can end up having the proteins, but you eat it in the right way. Let me tell everybody that our brain shrinks when we sleep. It doesn't mean that we're not intelligent. It's because all the toxins which has built up through the day, it gets out into the lymphatic system at night. We say that half knowledge is worse than no knowledge, right? So when we are given knowledge incorrectly, and that's where the problem comes in.
Welcome to the Garma Avatar Show. In today's episode, I have with me Swati Bathwa, who is an accredited sports dietitian, nutritionist, author, TEDx speaker, podcaster, accredited practicing dietitian, credentialed diabetes educator, an accredited anthropometrist, and a registered yoga teacher. Swati is an Australian Indian currently residing in India. She is a trained sports dietitian from Australian Institute of Sports, Canberra, and is accredited with several international bodies like Dietitian Association of Australia, Public Health Association, Sports Dietitian Australia, Australian Diabetes Educator Association. Swati's passion is to train youth and young Indian athletes and sportsmen. She is currently training young women in women's sports, cricket and golf, and Olympians and Paralympians on sports performance through nutrition. She also holds IOC certificate for drugs in sports. Thanks for joining me, Swati. Such a pleasure to have you on my show.
Thanks, Garima. Thanks for having me.
I've heard so much about gut health, and since you're also, such a renowned nutritionist, I want to start with this. I want to ask you, what are the surprising facts that you think are overlooked regarding gut health? And can you share some insights from experiments linking to gut health, to behavior, and its relevance for athletes and anyone in general, actually?
It's a very interesting question, Garima. We have been talking about gut health, and gut health has become so popular nowadays that whether you look at any discipline of nutrition, whether it's Ayurveda, holistic nutrition, they talk about gut health. So let me begin. We have one brain, but let me also tell you the gut is another brain in our body. The gut is directly connected to our brain, and there is a communication that happens between the gut and the brain. So all the messages from our gut is passed on through our brain. So the way we feel, for example, some people who feel depressed, if we get anxious, and the most common thing is, we say that gut feeling. We are on the stage, and suddenly we get this murmuring feeling in our stomach. So it's the gut feeling. That's the number one indicator that our gut is connected to our brain. Now, some of the facts I wanted to tell you and the audience as well, that 95% of happy hormone serotonin is stored in our gut. So you can imagine if our gut is inflamed, we are not going to be happy. We are going to be feeling low, or we may also get anxious. Now, a lot of immune cells are present next to our gut microbes in our stomach. So if our microbes are not in balance, our immunity is also compromised, because both immune cells, all the cells, they interact with each other. So that is why having a healthy gut is very, very important, whether it is for our mood, whether it is also for our digestion overall. And if you eat something wrong, for example, we straight away react to it. And the biggest thing I want to tell everybody today is the communication takes place more from the gut to the brain than from brain to the gut. So you know how we say, oh, I'm feeling depressed, right? It's not like you feeling depressed, which is impacting your food. It's the food which you're eating is impacting your mood. That's how it takes place.
Wow. That's so fascinating. So, can you please tell us some things that we should eat for keeping our gut healthy and all?
Yeah, so it's very interesting because, say, Garima, a lot of people they have allergies, they have got intolerances, and
Yeah.
you asked me a question about athletes as well. So if we overtrain, a lot of athletes who end up overtraining as well, they end up having athlete's gut, which is actually having an irritable bowel syndrome, which is specific to the athletes. We end up kind of moving the muscles around our internal organs if we train too much, which is also not healthy. So, if you're allergic to something, you cannot have those foods because they inflame your gut health. If you're sensitive to something, you cannot have those. But we have seen in general, like fermented foods, which are rich in microbes, they're very, very good for our gut health. But also follow the facts that suppose if somebody is allergic to dairy, you cannot have yogurt to rely on microbes. So, you have to see what suits you and what doesn't suit you. But having a healthy gut is extremely important. But I can definitely say what you should not do in order to improve your gut health is to have bad vegetable oils. So, moment you have the same samosa, for example, if you eat that samosa in ghee, is okay for you. But the moment you have that samosa in vegetable oil, it's going to impair your gut within 20 minutes you eat that. So that is something
Oh
you
my.
need to avoid. Second, we also see a lot of people who have MSG, which is like, which is found in Chinese food. That tends to impair our gut health as well. Food colors, food preservatives. So these are the things we should definitely not do, and then followed by the allergens and other sensitivities.
Wow, this is an amazing topic, and I think we can endlessly talk about gut health. But I think we should move on, and also I want to ask you some other relevant questions
Yeah,
about sleep. I think sleep also, the quality of sleep contribute to gut health and overall
yeah,
well-being, especially in athletes, that who are undergoing intense training. So
yeah.
can you please tell us about that? Because I think that there are I have read about these circadian rhythm cycles that
Yes.
that we follow and all the stuff. Please throw some light on
Yeah.
that. Thank
Yeah, it's very interesting. Again, Garima, very interesting questions. I'm really enjoying the questions you're giving me. So basically, we have a body clock. Every individual has a body clock. Now, we also have an internal body clock. Now, it is very interesting to say that every organ has got its own clock. So, for example, heart has got its own clock, the way it works, the way our gut works, the way our brain works, everything, and that is controlled by a central clock. So, when we talk about the circadian rhythm, so what happens is our body doesn't understand whether it is day and night. So, moment we switch on the lights at night, it reduces a hormone called melatonin in our body. So, moment melatonin is reduced, we won't be able to sleep effectively. And the internal clock is regulated by the food we eat. So, for example, if we wake up in the morning, so how will we know? How will our body know whether it is day and night? It's by the food you eat. So, suppose if you had a late night and if you ate at 1 o'clock at night, the body will not understand because you're not used to eating at 1 o'clock. So, the whole rhythm will be imbalanced, it will not be in control. So, when it happens with athletes, when they're traveling too much, so we always say go by the clock of whichever country you are going. So if it is day, try to behave like it is day. If it is night, try to get as much sleep as you can. I am a lot against with some of the supplements which are not proven. So I do not recommend them have too much of melatonin or something which is sourced in a product. So I give them pistas. So pistas, for example, two pistas can give you enough melatonin, can help you
you.
produce enough melatonin in the body, which is zero point 0.3 milligrams, and that can help you sleep better. So
Seriously,
I
I
give
think
my athletes.
just before
Yeah,
sleeping in the night, like a few pieces of pistas can really help. Oh, wow.
yes,
I
yeah,
think I'm going to use that
yeah.
tip.
So
Thanks.
I tell the general audience, when I get like general population people, I tell them like, make sure you're not doing too much of late night. Don't use too much of screen because the artificial light will reduce the melatonin. It starts to rise from 5 o'clock in the evening, moment the sun starts to set. The moment you turn on the artificial light, it's going to drop, and then you will not be able to sleep properly at night. So that is something which is something we need to be working on. It is very interesting to tell you that even the cholesterol production, 95% of cholesterol production is dependent on our circadian rhythm. our heartbeat,
Wow.
our mood, our gut, because of the microbes. They don't know how to function properly. If we eat at 3 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the morning, it's all disrupted because the whole system is in imbalance.
So, what is the ideal time of sleep cycle? I mean, like, is 6 hours, are 6 hours enough? Or do you think, one should sleep for 7 hours or eight? Like, I'm very particular about sleeping for, minimum 7 hours. I have to make sure
Yeah.
seven, maximum 8 hours. But is that like okay to have to be so
Yeah.
particular? Or, sometimes if you're sleeping less,
I think 7 to 8 hours is really good.
okay.
And also, because we're talking about circadian rhythm and sleep, let me tell everybody that our brain shrinks when we sleep. It doesn't mean that we're not intelligent. It's because all the toxins which has built up through the day, it gets out into the lymphatic system at night.
Wow.
So that is why when we wake up, when we sleep better, we wake up fresh. So it's the sound sleep which is more important than having that 8 hours of sleep and having a disrupted sleep. So a lot of people have sleep apnea issues and other issues related to sleep, and they're tossing and turning all night. But having that deep sleep of 8 hours is a must, and for the skin as well. The skin glows and your weight is under control, your
Yeah.
hormones are in place. So I think it's very important to have a good
Sleep
sleep.
is very important, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What are some common causes of bloating? Because sometimes when you end up eating some stuff, you feel very bloated. And what kind of dietary adjustments can one make to reduce this issue?
So number one issue when it comes to bloating is something which you are not intolerant, something you're very much intolerant to. So for example, some people, they complain that when they have artificial sweeteners, they get bloated. And a lot of athletes, they get bloated when they have artificial sweeteners, whether it's natural or whether it's artificially sweetened, it's going to disrupt your gut. So that is one thing as well. So you have to make sure you do not have too much of artificial sweeteners. And if you, your question was, what are the foods which, how we can manage is,
Yeah, and what are the common causes of bloating, basically, also?
yeah. So the first cause is basically it's the allergies and the sensitivity. Second is the lack of sleep, and third is exercising too much. Even that can cause bloating.
Seriously,
And yeah,
exercising too much. I mean,
yeah. When you exercise,
what is too much, according to you, exercising? How can one, kind of define that? Like, if somebody is exercising for 2 hours a day, or what's too much?
yeah. So the easiest way to see is if you don't feel hungry after exercise, it means that you're past that threshold. And if you feel hungry just right when you exercise, it means you've done it right. So
Right.
that is one thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And there are many causes of bloating, like I said, artificial sweeteners, preservatives, artificial colors. And, I talked about MSG, monosodium glutamate, that's number one killer, and even the vegetable oils as well. And, having milk as well, for example, if you have hormone fed dairy products, or if you have hormone fed chicken or meat sources of food, that can also trigger irritable bowel syndrome. And nervousness and stress to be very important ones. If you have the same meal and if you're not stressed and if you're eating it slowly at peace for those 10 minutes, you will be able to digest the same meal. But if you have the same meal when you're under too much stress, you will end up with bloating.
Wow, that's amazing. That's great information. Thank you so much, Swati. Uh, Also, I mean, you mentioned about vegetable oil a few times, and I think it's oil is very very important. The medium of cooking is very very important. I have been using organic oil and these cold pressed oils. So, what do you think about that? So, do you think what we are getting in the market, these cold pressed oils, they're good oils that one should use for cooking, or
So let me explain it in a very simple way. So what happens is, Garima, as the summer starts to heat up, so the seeds become very active. That's why we see a lot of nuts also, they start to smell stale a little
yeah,
bit when it is hot,
yeah,
right? Same as with the seeds as well. So when we are using a lot of vegetable oils, and if we are using it in big industrial setup where we are extracting so much of oil out of these seeds, we are actually making it more rancid. Now, when you're extracting it, you're breaking all the chemical bonds in the oil, which is not very healthy for you. Once you remove, you process all these seeds, and then you end up adding all these extra ingredients to it, and then you say that, oh, it's heart friendly. It's actually not heart friendly. So the difference between that oil and cold press is cold press doesn't go through too much of heat. It's done manually. So it is actually good. The composition is maintained throughout. Second, I always suggest people that if the oil, no matter how organic and cold pressed they say, if it is not stored in a glass bottle, do not accept that. It should not be in the plastic, because plastic is very detrimental to our health. It disrupts our hormones. So please make sure you use any oil in the glass bottle. And if you're using extra virgin olive oil, which is very heat sensitive, it should be in a dark bottle. So you'll find a lot of Italian brands and Greek brands, they have extra virgin olive oil. They always come in a dark bottle. Even avocado oil, it comes in a dark bottle. So that is a very good way to understand the oil is,
Sure.
right or not.
But I mean, all these bottles that we get in the market are plastic. I mean, even cold press oil, that's so sad. I mean, I think, yeah, let's see. But that makes really a lot of sense what you're saying. Thanks so much for that. So we are also seeing, these days there's a lot of lactose intolerance, in a lot of people. So how can we adjust our diets as per that?
Yeah. So, Garma, there are two things when it comes to lactose intolerance. Lactose is actually a type of sugar which is present in milk. So, some people do not have enough enzyme, which is called as lactase, in our gut to digest the milk. Some people can be temporary lactose intolerant, some people can be permanent. Temporary is, suppose if you end up with episodes of diarrhea or if you're in the hospital, you will not be able to digest milk. So that's temporary. But if it is permanent, you have to understand, are you reacting just to the sugar of the milk, or do you have sensitivity to whey, which is the protein component of the milk? Because people, they get confused. Either it's the protein or is it the sugar? If sugar is the case, which is lactose, we actually have certain tablets available in the market now, which is called as Lactaid. They are basically enzymes. So you just take the enzyme before, and 15 minutes after, you can end up having lactose-based milk. It will be easy for you. Simple is anything which is yellow in color, any cheese which is yellow in color is very low in lactose. So if you're lactose intolerant, you can still have that cheese. So you can have Gouda cheese, you can have, all those like the rich based cheese. But if you have white cheese, it is very rich in lactose. Lactose. So you will end up having issues with that. So that is one thing you need to be looking at. So that is one thing. And if you have allergies to dairy, definitely looking for dairy alternative is what we would be looking for.
Fabulous. Thank you. Okay, so how does stress, I mean, whether training or daily life, how does stress impact gut health? And what strategies can one use to manage stress relative, and what strategies can one use to manage stress related digestive issues?
Number one, see, stress, like I said, most of the happy hormones are located in our gut wall, serotonin, very happy. And like I said, our brain is very much dependent. Brain is more dependent on the gut, to be honest. Gut is not dependent on our brain. So for example, if you look at it, we are playing and suddenly we get distracted, right? So we are swinging a baby and suddenly you get distracted looking here and there, and then you don't know the pace, the way it's being, the baby is actually enjoying the ride or the swing. So that distraction, like little things which when you're eating your meal as well, if you get distracted, you are going to not be able to digest that meal properly, and that is going to trigger the stress as well. Now stress, I always tell people, see, stress is a happy hormone. You have to see, like, stress can be happy. People who are worried about work, I tell them, imagine yourself with no job. How does that make you feel? And they're like, oh, no, that's not right. So I said, so that as long as stress is making you productive, It is a happy stress. So I tell people that way. And I always make sure the best way to manage your meal and stress around the meal is, please, for those 10 minutes, eat slowly. Do not get distracted by the things around. Leave your phone aside. Leave your, the gadgets aside. Do not worry about anything. Eat it in silence for 10 minutes and you will be a lot better. And if it is worse, please see a therapist. it's no harm in seeing a therapist like a psychologist or anyone who will be able to comfort your symptoms if it is in extreme. But number one thing is please eat slowly and in silence and in peace. Yeah.
These little things matter so much. I mean, these, we always hear, these little instructions, even from our parents, I mean, and they are very meaningful. So thanks for that, Swati. Okay, I want to just go on and talk about some, myths and misconceptions about workout supplements and the proteins that athletes and others should be cautious of.
Oh, we can do another episode on this, Garima, this protein supplement and athletes and all of that. It's such a big thing, I tell you.
Yeah, and
So,
even it's so, I have like I get trained also in the gym and all, and my trainer, also suggests you please have this protein supplement because I'm a vegetarian, so they say कि, okay, you will always be deficient of protein otherwise.
so let me tell you, let's
Yeah.
begin with this topic. It's very interesting. So, with the protein supplements, we say that half knowledge is worse than no knowledge, right? So, when we are given knowledge incorrectly, and that's where the problem comes in. Now, the biggest myth when it comes to protein industry and workout and the fitness industry is they think that vegetarians cannot get the protein, which is actually not right. Vegetarians can end up having the proteins, but you eat it in the right way. A normal human being, we need zero point 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight to maximum 1 kilogram. So what for a 1 gram per kg body weight. So if my weight is say 50 kilos, I need to have only 50 grams of protein in a day. Now to make it simple, 1 glass of charged buttermilk is
Yeah.
6 grams of protein.
Oh, wow, nice.
100 grams of paneer is 20 grams of protein.
Wow, so 26.
Yeah, 3/4 of a cup of lentils or dal, which is 2 katori of dal, is 8 to 10 grams of protein,
Nice. So that's
right?
another.
And just 2 tablespoons of sattu is 8 grams of protein. So you're already reaching that mark of
Yeah.
that protein. Now the second biggest myth is people they think you need creatinine, you need all these fat busters and all of that. And they think when they are sold in the market with all those big labels, which is mentioned on the product, it's going to be healthy for them. It's actually not. So being informed is very, very important. And third, most importantly, we need to know that protein, if you dump all the protein in your body just after the workout or in the first half of the day and not worry about the second half of the day, it doesn't help in muscle building of the muscle. The protein distribution is very important. So protein needs to be distributed evenly throughout the day. So for example, I gave you for 50 grams of protein in a day, you need to have probably 25 in the first half and 25 in the second half of the day. So that is the best way to actually build the muscles and not worry about doing say 40 grams in the evening and just 10 grams in the morning, which is very, very common. Yeah.
That's great. My God, that's amazing. I'll make sure that I distribute my protein intake also. And thanks so much. Yeah, I mean, we sometimes because I don't eat eggs also. So I am always wondering. I should have. They suggest I should have amaranth and
Yeah.
sometimes they say this khajur, which is that's also very good. Also, that is high on protein as well.
Did you say dates, Kya?
Dates,
No, dates are very rich in carbohydrate and they're very rich in minerals,
minerals.
more than the protein. Yeah.
Okay.
So adding some nuts is good. And sometimes, if you're trying to build muscle, for example, you go up to 1.2 to 1.5 grams of body weight. And that's when you are thinking, oh my God, I can't meet the requirements. So I end up giving athletes a plant-based protein powder if they are not in sports. And if they are in active sports, I would give them like a whey protein powder. But all the protein powders which I recommend has to be labeled by Informed Sports or HASTA, which has to be certified, and it should not have any herbal supplement to it, any herbs to it. Now the reason is, and it is very informative for the audience as well, I did recently a workshop with HASTA, which is a supplement testing company in Australia. And they mentioned that And they can actually test the impurity in the protein powder in the supplement, which is the size of an Olympic pool. If you put a drop of water in a size of Olympic pool, they will still be able to detect it. But they cannot detect any herbs like ashwagandha, ginseng, and all of that. The reason is because the structure damages the equipment and it doesn't let them do the assessment properly. So I always tell people, do not take any supplement which has got all these extra ingredients to it. Just get the pure one, which is Informed Sports label. Then it will not be toxic to you.
Oh wow, that's great information. So Swati, so what's the name of the company that you suggest? I mean, definitely I'll put a mark to it in
See,
the.
there are many companies, and Body Science is really good. Body Science is good. Kinetica is very good brand. Sun Warrior is a good brand as well. There are many brands. And after the show, I can actually give you a list of all the products, the ones which are certified
Sure.
and which are very safe for people to consume. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you so much. Okay, so I want to ask about different types of fasting and are they suitable for athletes and those leading an active lifestyle?
So let's have a look. Athletes, I always say this wherever I talk about sports nutrition, athletes don't diet and exercise. They eat and they train.
Oh, right.
Because you're running a car, you need to keep fueling up.
Yes.
Fasting is fantastic, but they can do fast when they are at rest, when they're not training, and they can only fast in the off season, not when they are training, because we need the glucose for energy. We
Yeah.
all think about protein all the time. We forget about the carbohydrate. If you forget the carbohydrate and just focus on the protein, all the protein you are using or eating will end up giving you energy. So you will not end up with muscles anyway. So I always tell them that, you can do that. And people who are living an active lifestyle as well, who are non-athletes, I would say that yes, fast, but make sure you do not exercise on those days because your body's already working hard to get rid of the toxins. So maybe just do yoga or light movement activity. Fasts are of so many different types, Karima. Like, we keep hearing about all these different types of fast, dry fast, water fast, fruit fast.
I tried doing intermittent fasting. And
Yeah.
sometimes if you're a little acidic and all this stuff, it doesn't suit you. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah.
makes you very, very uneasy in your stomach.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
I think one has to also understand one system. You can feel very acidic or bloated or not.
Yeah.
It may not suit your system if you want to fast.
Yeah, and even people that do intermittent fasting, and I see a lot of people, they don't like doing breakfast. That's why they choose to do intermittent fasting, and they think they're doing something really good, but they're also going against the circadian rhythm of the body. So best is do your breakfast, do your lunch, keep your dinner light, maybe finish your dinner by 5 o'clock, and then you do your cycle of intermittent fasting of 14 hours or 15 hours from there. But do not skip your breakfast in the morning because your digestion is at the peak.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks so much. Thanks so much, Swati. Such a wonderful session. I can go non-stop on this, and maybe we can have another session, sometime again later on other topics. There's so many other topics that I've got missed out, but I'm sure we are running out of time. So we'll come to the end of the show. Thank you so much for this fantastic.
Thank you, Garima. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, and thank you all for listening to today's episode with your host Garima Aftar. See you in the next one. Have a great day. Bye.